I don't believe in DEI. I don't believe in asking racist people and institutions to accept me, to tolerate me, to see me as human so that I have access to love and acceptance and belonging. So for those of you who I have not yet met, I'm Neysa. I'm the founder of Ginger and Carrot Productions, and this is the series that I'm calling The Inner Work of Branding. Companies think that branding is all about your fonts and your logos and all of these, external things that we see that represent the visual associations we have with brands. But my approach to branding is that it's in here, it's inner work, because it ties so closely to identity, to culture, and to historical, anthropological context. And when you don't understand that context, this is how you have misfires in the way that your company is communicating to the world. Branding is about being understood for who you are so that your customers know, is this for me or is this not for me? And both of those questions are very important to answer because you can't be for everyone. Right? So in my work, I have been a published photographer. This is a cookbook that my partner and I photographed all 130 recipes for and came up with the creative direction for My Creole Cali Kitchen. It's been featured on Bon Appétit and Epicurious and Cuisine Noir. And we have helped dozens and dozens of small businesses and CPG brands understand their story so that they're able to tell it through their videos, through their photos, through the way that they talk in in-person conversations. We work with people both on a retainer basis and on a one-on-one basis. And if you're curious about that, all of the information is in the description box below. So let's talk about what it means, what I mean when I say that I don't believe in DEI. Because basically what we've been doing is dancing around this idea that all we have to do is explain to companies how they're inadvertently, accidentally stepping on our toes with their racism, and that if they only understood, then we would be able to all get along and we would be in an inclusive world and it would be better, right? The reason why that doesn't work is because we're forgetting a context here. Racism benefits white people. That's why they are not so easily and willing to give it up. And what complicates that is that white people, and honestly any human being, no one wants to see themselves as the villain in anyone's story. No one. I don't care how Hitler adjacent you are. No one wants to see themselves as the villain. Everyone wants to see themselves as the hero in their story. So what does that mean? That means that we've got to justify the hate. That means that it's got to make sense, even in a weird, illogical way, as to why you could discriminate systemically or one-on-one against a group of people, why you could carry negative, ignorant beliefs and stay in that ignorance despite all evidence to the contrary. It's got to make sense. That means you have to tell yourself a story about this group of people and what their presence means for you in order to keep this belief going. So it's a waste of time to put in DEI and to convince people of this because it doesn't actually address the root cause, which is the fact that they don't actually want to be in a world where they don't have access to those privileges. Their lives are built on a foundation of exploitation, and they are not interested in giving that up. They're not. And that's why they're not gonna. And as soon as you take those policies away and say, oh, you don't really have to worry about it anymore, that's why they go back to their old ways. That's why there's always a conversation of when we're done with this work. Right? That's why they see it like a homework assignment. I did it. It was annoying, but I had to do it. I finished it, and here it is. Like turning in government paperwork. You just want to get it done and turn it in and be done. But doing this kind of work of unknowing and deconditioning from racist teachings, beliefs, and ideologies, which we are all subject to growing up in this country, especially in the United States. That takes work, and that's ongoing work. That is not something that happens like in a day or in a workshop or in a policy. That is inner work. When you look at the American Eagle campaign, right? And everyone was so upset. Everyone meaning white institutions and companies who perform inclusivity, who have these very surface level policies about how they don't discriminate against anyone, yet Black and brown folks or queer folks are either physically not in those spaces or have to perform to white culture in order to fit into those spaces. They were the ones that were the most upset. They were the ones that were like, oh my God, how could they do this? Really, because American Eagle broke the script. American Eagle came out with their racism and was very upfront about it and very unapologetic about it. And when they had a response on their Instagram, that response was giving, I said what I said. That doesn't sound like a mistake. That doesn't sound like a branding team that got it wrong. That sounds like a company that knows exactly who they are and they know exactly who their audience is. So what does this teach us? This teaches us that it's not about pretending to be woke, a phrase that has been really bastardized at this point by popular white culture. This is not about doing the dance and doing your homework so that you don't have a PR mess. The companies that are really going to win in this arena are companies who are truly embodied in that belief. People, because people make up companies, people who actually do the work on deconditioning racist beliefs and ideologies. If you were grown up in this country, especially, you were told racist things. You were given a revisionist history on what really happened and who the heroes are and who the villains are of the world. Like, you were told a history that centered yourself as inherently good and reduced down other people's contributions to the success of this country. So in order to overcome that, you have to relearn that history in a more truthful light. You have to understand the part that you might have played in that. You have to face some really ugly truths. And when you haven't done that work, it's usually really obvious in your branding, because all your branding is a visual representation or an audio representation or a spiritual representation of who you are as people. That's why we're moved by these colors, by these fonts, by the content. That's why we're moved by the visuals, the movies, the short films, all these things, because they're representing how we feel and think and what we believe. So when that gets foggy, when that gets fuzzy, it's because your beliefs are fuzzy. It's because your identity is fuzzy. And these are things that, by the way, grow and evolve and change over time. And that's another video. But when it's not clear, then it's not going to be clear to your customers. And that's why, again, I don't believe in asking for permission to be seen as human, to be accepted, to be loved, to get the things that I need to be successful. That is a waste of time. That's a waste of time. I believe in creating those things for myself. I believe in building the world I want to see, building a table for me to sit at, because I'm never going to get it from the person who benefits by having their foot on my neck. So if that's resonating at all, I do one-on-one brand sessions with people where we get clear on their narrative, we get clear on their stories, and figure out what that story looks like in the content. What does it look like in the photography? What does it look like in the way that you speak about what you do? If you've got a pitch coming up, if you've got a presentation at an expo coming up, how does this all come together? And that's the work that I do. So all of that information is in the description box below. And this is going to be a 5-part series, so stay tuned for part 2.